Welcome back to another episode of the Hoopers Almanac. And ladies and gentlemen, the NBA offseason has started since we last recorded, and shit turned sideways in 14 different ways, it feels like, for a few different teams. My team included, the Celtics. Some teams got better. Some teams did inexplicable things. We're going to go through every one of the teams, and we're going to go through what we think is the smartest move they made, and some of them, what is the question of what the fuck did they just do? So we'll answer all those questions. But that's the entirety of the episode. We're gonna go through all 30 teams. We're gonna break down our favorite moves from each team, our least favorite move from each team, and kind of just go from there and see if these moves made these teams better. But before we get going, here are our friends from Green Top. Adam, it has been, a week now since the NBA offseason, the NBA season has turned over into the 26-27 season, which it's crazy. We can officially say that. The NBA year started on July 1st, last Wednesday, and so much has happened. And I was listening to Zach Lowe, and he said it, or actually, sorry, I was listening to Rosillo, and he had said it correctly. It's not like there's so many big free agent signings in the offseason anymore. It's now us waiting to see what the big trade is in the offseason. Because guys now, they are doing the extensions and then asking for trades like from teams, or they're just getting traded because it's just a bad fit with some of these teams. I I think I prefer all the trades rather than just a bunch of signings. I like the signings of like role guys going to different teams. But the psychopath in me loves the trade machine and loves just the variety of trades that come from it. What is your thought process on that, and which one do you prefer?
No, that's definitely true. That's what's happening. I think there's multiple reasons for that. I think obviously the essential hard cap that we have with the second apron now is a big reason for that. So it's just hard to teams to just sign guys, because the salaries that everybody's making is so high anyway. Especially star players. It's like, man, that's just so burdensome. Like, who has this much cap space to sign a dude to a $50 million contract? So that's a piece of it. It is more fun because it's like it probably sucks for players, especially players who like have good, quote unquote good contracts that are like easily tradable, because they're going to be throwing in a lot of trades, because it's just like that's just going to happen more often now. So it's like some of these guys who sign these like nice, like kind of mid-level deals. It's like, hey man, be prepared. You could be on the move at any second here.
Yeah.
And I think you're right. I think the players wisened up to, well, I'm going to get more money if I just sign the extension and ask out. So I'll just keep doing that. I mean, especially if you're good enough to like warrant that. And then I think some of the trades are coming because the salaries are so high. It's like, Cat, right? Jaylen Brown. That's a huge reason for the trade. Was, man, this guy's making so much money. Like, is he quite good enough to kind of justify this, or like, do we need the word they keep using, right? The optionality to do more. I don't know. I mean, so I think all those factors are why we're seeing just a lot more trades than we are, just straight up free agency signings. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, I guess I do like it. It's like I think you're more into the transaction game than I am, but it is like, it is more interesting to look at a trade and the parameters of a trade, and like, oh wow, this team valued this at this, but this, guy got this in this trade market. And that all is a bit more interesting to me than just a straight up, like, this guy signed for $10 million a year.
I do. We've talked about this before on the podcast. Just how important free agency is to the NBA, and just being able to like prove your worth. I will also just say that I think free agency is great for role players, and I think it's great to fill out a roster. I think stars are or like your starters are the ones who are probably going to get traded more often, and because of that, it's just so much. I think that's the thing we as NBA fans love to see, is what star is getting traded, and and like you said, what is their worth to another team. And I think that is very interesting to me. So I totally agree with you on that. But we're not going to just jump into random teams. We're not going to just jump into a deal where it makes no sense and one of our teams might have done something absolutely ridiculous. And guess what? We're not talking about them to the end because we're doing it in alphabetical order backwards. We're doing Z to A. Adam tested me with that one right before. He wanted me to just sit and wait and sulk to talk about my Celtics, but we're going to start at the bottom of the alphabet and start with W. And we're going to go through all 30 teams, break down all the moves. Also, probably, I'm going to just say this right now. We're going to talk international real quick because our guy Yabusele just signed to Panathinaikos, I think was what it was,
yes,
for 3 years.
Correct.
So 31 teams are now getting discussed today, and one of them isn't even in the NBA. So,
which, I mean, they're probably the best team not in the NBA. I mean, they're are one of. I mean, they didn't have a great season. Their bitter rivals, Olympiacos, won the EuroLeague last year. But yeah, I'm actually hoping to see Panathinaikos play in person in about 3 months. So I guess I'll see Yabusele now.
Are you going to Greece?
I am.
What? Okay, this is an off-pod thing. I didn't realize this was happening because we got to start planning summer projects, Adam, and off-season projects. So you got to talk about.
It's later. We'll be fine.
We also, at the end of the pod, we do have 2 announcements to come as for future of this pod and one of its hosts. So we will, if you haven't seen certain things. Okay, but let's start with Washington. We've had our buddy Carl Baltimore on a bunch of times in this pod recently, and he's going to be on a few times during the summer as well. And the Wizards did a few different things. Re-signed Trae Young, traded for DeAndre Ayton, signed and trade to get back Chris Middleton, and to send away D'Angelo Russell. Few different moves, but we also said what we're going to do for this segment is kind of just go through our favorite move that they made and our least favorite move. I'll just stay right here. I think it's stupid that they re-signed Trae Young to the amount of money they did, but I love that they brought in Chris Middleton, a guy who's won something, and just to be a vet wing behind what is just a myriad of young possible stars on this Wizards team. So I like the Middleton trade to get him back. Don't love the Trae Young signing.
Yeah, it's Trae Young. It's one of those I just don't know what who else was going to give him that. That just seems like one of those. Why this much? Why right now? Why? The timing seemed a little bit strange. It's we're just so excited to give this to him, and and then the amount and the years just seemed like a lot. For a guy who's hey, we'll see if this is still a super effective player. I hope he still is, but I just don't know. It's just hard. It's so hard to tell. That's why I'm I didn't really understand the rush. The Middleton thing is weird, Greg, because it's he technically never really left the team. I mean, because he was gone for briefly, but then was back with is already back with them. I mean, he had that little stint with Dallas, but I guess that's a perfect eighth man for this team that's trying to win, but he's going to be positive influence in the locker room. And I mean, the Harrison Barnes, right, of what the Spurs have had for the last couple of years. That's kind of what they're going for there. So they're a pretty easy one because they haven't done a whole lot. And then DeAndre Ayton, obviously they picked him up from the Lakers in that trade. So that's something. It's nice, at least a backup sign for Anthony Davis.
My worry is that is an influence on Alex Sarr that I don't know if they need. That's my only.
Yeah. But maybe there's another move to be made there. I don't know. I'm not necessarily Alex Sarr, but I don't know. Maybe he's going to start.
I don't know. I don't think he's going to start. I think Sarr starts over him.
Well, no, Sarr would be better. But I'm saying if they trade Anthony Davis and get a wing or something like that, maybe it's you go Sarr and Ayton together. Yes,
that's a fair point. Great call on that one. If they do trade Davis, we'll see. That's an interesting little caveat that they've just have tried. They've said they're not trading him, but we'll see. Utah sent away Walker Kessler to the Lakers. Whatever. Congrats. That was stupid. Re-signed Nurkic, brought on Jackson Hayes. So they're hey, Lakers, we'll take your starting center / backup center. We'll give you ours. And then also signed Josh Okogie. Was there a favorite for you you liked from this team?
I mean, not signing Walker Kessler to that deal. I mean, that would have been crippling for them, given the other guys that they've recently added and high draft picks and stuff too. So that was. We'll get to that when we get to the Lakers, but I mean, did well to not pay that much money for Walker Kessler. But I mean, what was Jackson Hayes? I saw it was a 2-year deal. What was the dollar figure? Do we have that?
Shoot, hold on, let me pull it up over here.
And then Okogie was the other one. I mean, Okogie's just like a whatever, decent backup wing. I mean, that's that, nothing doesn't move the needle at all. But re-signing Yusuf Nurkic, that seems like a guy that they've enjoyed having in the building. So, I mean, Utah is just it's all about getting healthy, having Jaren Jackson and Lauri Markkanen kind of together for the first time, and then obviously Darren Peterson is like the huge thing there. So, that was the biggest addition they made in the offseason was their draft pick.
Yeah, Jackson Hayes 2 for $12 million, so 6 a year.
Okay, yeah, there you go. That's not bad. Yeah,
serviceable backup big man. Like I think, and I understand it from the sense of, listen, if you're trying to make it George, Darren Peterson, Ace Bailey, and then Markkanen and Jaren Jackson, that's a great fun starting five. It's a very high, I feel like that could be a high scoring starting five. Defense is something I will continue to question, but we will see it when we get. But Lauri Markkanen has been this oversized, small forward for them. It feels like in times, but I think his best role is probably for them has always been power forward. Jaren Jackson has been a mix of a power forward / center. I think Markkanen's rebounding can outweigh, and Bailey is a good rebounder too. I think that will help with Jaren Jackson's lack of rebounding. But it would be nice to have a center that could actually rebound. And that's what Hayes is the backup for. So
yeah. I mean, they're I just want to see these guys play, this group all play together. That's the biggest thing for me.
Yep. Let's move to Toronto, which made a nice trade, which they picked up Kyle Anderson. Good for them, I guess. And then they reacquired Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah.
For Grady Dick and Brandon Ingram. Listen, whoever thought Dick was getting out of Toronto? I mean, I thought he had no worth at this point with how much they were playing him. And then Mamu also left to go to the other LA team, to go to the Lakers. I think Leonard is just the answered prayer, because they've been missing a go-to scorer. Now I'm wondering on his last legs, what he actually can provide for them. But I think at this point, he's kind of just the perfect, steady force that they can trust down the stretch of games, which they did not have, especially in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, if he plays in the playoffs.
This is fair.
That's the biggest.
We're all assuming health here.
Yes. So hopefully that is true. Look, I don't have as much of a mean streak towards Kawhi as other Spurs fans. Hope he stays healthy. I mean, I think this is cool. There's a little bit of I mean, maybe he should have never left Toronto, type thing. Mm-hmm. But so it'll be kind of cool to see him in that jersey again. Obviously, that was a pretty iconic run there in 2019. But I actually think Mamu is a bigger loss than people realize. I
agree.
Yeah, I think Mamu's really solid. I think he's going to help the Lakers. But I guess once you pick up Kawhi and you're giving the majority of those minutes to Kawhi and Scotty, that's there wasn't going to be a ton of space left for him. So I'm actually really curious to see how Kawhi and Scotty pair together. I mean, Scotty did a lot with the ball in his hands last year, and Kawhi is very deliberate, very at the elbow. It's my pace, and that's going to be interesting. I would love to see Scotty Barnes play on a team that runs more than Toronto's going to next year, but defensively, it's going to be amazing. I mean, those two, defensively is awesome. That's about as good of a wing pair as you can have.
They operate in the same space, Barnes and Leonard. And so I am very, if Barnes can get back to what he was shooting from 3 2 years ago, that will help with the spacing. And if Quickly, again, another guy, if Quickly can stay healthy, but that doesn't seem to happen.
Yeah.
I love that this will be a starting five of 6, 7, and under with if Colin Murray Boyles is their starting center next year.
Yeah.
It'll be very interesting.
Back again.
Sure, I guess. Your San Antonio Spurs. They kept everybody as of right now. And they brought in Tobias Harris. They don't have a bad move. And the only move that they did make is Tobias Harris. I think they might have overpaid a little bit, but I think you have to for a guy like him who's going to be your starting 4 next year.
Yeah, and honestly, I love it because it's 2 years. So the dollar amount to me didn't matter a whole lot. It's the 2-year thing is the big deal because that's when all the Wemby will have already gotten paid, and Castles will come in, and then Harper will be the following year. So that team's going to get very expensive very quickly. And this is perfect. It's you just you have him for these 2 years that you need him. That's probably the last 2 really good years you're going to get out of Tobias Harris. He's the exact position the Spurs needed. He's the only position I would have upgraded this summer. And they went out and there was a few different options. We talked about Rui. Obviously, the dream would have been LeBron, but Yeah, I
Who has
mean,
not chosen, by the way? LeBron still hasn't chosen.
I know down to 3. I saw down to 3 teams now, so pretty interesting. All in the East, which makes sense. But yeah, I like it. I actually am really happy. Like I think he's going to fit in perfectly culturally. Like it's a perfect Spurs move. Like I have no complaints. Like run it back, bring in a little help. That's all you need.
He he is the perfect guy, I think, for San Antonio because I think he's hitting this stage where he's like, I know how to play a role. And I think he has been so malleable over his entire NBA career on what his role is. And I think with the Pistons, he was definitely an over how do I put this? He was had to be the number 2 guy, but he doesn't have the talent or the scoring ability to be a number 2 guy consistently. That's when you're like, okay, be the number 3. And I think he is the perfectly placed like number 3 like high 4 scoring option on a starting in a starting lineup. And I think I'm very curious what you think on this lineup of like Fox, Castle, is it Champagny or no, or Vassell, and then Harris and Wemby. And I think he's probably still the 4th option. And I think that's because Castle might take a step. I don't know. I don't know who takes a step back. Like
he may be the 5th option. I mean, Tobias
yeah,
Harris, which is
fair.
great. I mean, what a luxury 5th option. And then you got Dylan Harper and Julian Champagny off the bench. I mean, no, I mean, they've put together. It's an awesome team. I mean, that guys are just gonna keep getting better. I mean, I'm very excited. I think I'm so glad they didn't make a panic. Like, I mean, I guess it could still happen, like Fox trade or whatever. Like, I mean, unless you could get just like a major player back, which you're not going to be able to do. That would have been disappointing to me. So, no, I couldn't be happier with. Yeah, like here we go. Yeah, just add to the little thing to add the one thing you did need, and then let's just keep rolling with everybody else.
Sacramento Kings.
Here we go. Well, additions are none. So,
no, they've cut they cut DeMar DeRozan almost. Yeah, they haven't officially bought, or at least NBA.com.
That's gonna happen. Yeah, that's gonna happen.
Yeah. And then Devin Carter got traded to the Hawks for picks. And then they re-signed Precious Achiuwa and Daquan Plowden. I don't remember Plowden. I don't know his name, but maybe I missed time with Plowden, and maybe I need to do my research. Plowden also is a great last name. I don't know. This is just a dumpster fire. I don't know.
Nothing.
Their great addition is they brought in Darius Akoff. Congratulations.
Yeah. No, we can move right along.
Perfect. I didn't want to say it, but we're doing it. Okay. Portland Trailblazers. Wow.
Okay, yeah. There we go. Yeah, some moves here.
Yeah, all right. So they re-signed Robert Williams. Thank you. Time Lord just needed to stay somewhere. I was pissed, but I'll live with it. Sent out Jeremy Grant and Chris Murray to the Grizzlies for John Morant.
Yes.
I am so confused. The 4 like major guards that they have in Lillard, Holiday, Scoot, and Morant now. My thinking is they must not think Lillard's going to come back opening night. Like he won't be back for like that first month. That's why they kind of make a move like this. Holiday, they're like, he's on the next stage probably of his career and he's ready to be a bench guy. And I think this is kind of Scoot insurance. Like, because clearly he isn't like going to be an influence on Scoot in that kind of sense, but maybe he's just like, or more Scoot encouragement, like, hey, go play alongside this guy or go be better than this guy. I don't know what it is, but do you have a feeling of what this could be?
Yeah, actually, the more I thought about it, the more I liked it. I think number one, it's just a talent play. It's just like, hey, like this is all it's going to take to get John Morant, who I mean, not that long ago was this like electric, scoring guard, like leading like a 2 seed in the playoffs. Like I hope that guy's still there. I don't know if he is, and it allows you to get off of Jeremy Grant's money, and Chris Murray was never going to be, so I mean, so it's like, I mean, why not? I mean, Scoot really has started to do his damage, especially the games I was going to down the stretch. I went to that one regular season game at the end of the year, and then the playoff games against Portland. And I mean, he was doing a lot of his damage off the ball. Like he was actually kind of almost playing as the 2 guard. Right. And then Drew can guard threes, so you can have all 4 of these guys on the roster and like stagger it to where like you can play 3 of them at the same time. You can't play all 4 at the same time, I don't think, but you can play 3 of them at the same time, and that's not going to kill you. And I mean, why not? I mean, look at some of these teams that have a bunch of good guards. Oklahoma City, San Antonio. It's like, I mean, that's what it takes to be really good in the West. So I don't mind it, and I don't think it like automatically means that one of these other guys is going to get traded. And maybe maybe it means he's hurt, or maybe they just know this is not going to be like Damian Lillard. Like,
Right,
like this
yeah.
is not going to be 2014 Damian Lillard anymore. So like it's probably foolish to think that. So let's just let him kind of be this luxury player that we have, and teach our young guys. So the more I thought about this trade, the more I liked it.
I do like it as more of a. You're right. Maybe it's not Lillard not being ready. It's maybe a let's ease him into this kind of situation. We know he's not going to be the guy he once was. Yeah, it's just interesting. But I do agree with you. The fact that they finally got out of the Jeremy Grant business is just massive for them. And they're going to be fun. Gosh, I think my love for the Kings has transferred to the Blazers, and that'll be my late night watch when that'll be my late night watch this coming season. It'll be good. Another team that made a trade, the Phoenix Suns, which we kind of talked about with their trade that they did. Kept Gillespie, Goodwin, Mark Williams, and then they traded for Miles Bridges, and then signed Luke Kennard, and then they traded away Grayson Allen, Royce O'Neal. So they traded away. Well, they signed Grayson Allen's former Duke teammate Luke Kennard,
who had a really solid playoffs, or at least start to the playoffs.
Right. I want to just say this. I forgot Dylan Brooks was on this team whenever we recorded last time. And whenever I said Miles Bridges, I also assumed that Jordan Goodwin was their starting small forward for some stupid reason. Hand up, my bad. And I forgot Jalen Green was also on this roster as the backup 2 guard. This team is just has so many guards at them. I don't get it. And listen, we just talked about it with the Blazers. They have a lot of guards. This is a totally different collection of guards. Like the Blazers have like name brand guards, like names that we know. These are your Costco brand names that you're like, I'm sorry, I didn't realize that a Colin Gillespie existed in the meat packaging area in Costco. So it is until last year. Now we know his name. But they just have so many guard options at this point. Kennard adds to that. Now, he's a little off ball. Last year, he showed he can be a little bit more on ball. But I'm very curious just to see how this all works. I said last week I love the Miles Bridges trade just because of like the fit and how they needed an actual like power forward. I like that a lot. I did not totally, after thinking about it, did not love that they gave up Grayson Allen just because I liked how much he's been doing for them as a spread the floor guy. But if that's what you had to give up to get Miles Bridges, I think we're fine with it.
Yeah, and then you replaced it with Luke Kennard. So you kind of like you filled that spot pretty quickly and pretty easily. So no real complaints here. I mean, this is just this is going to be one of those like I think people are going to expect them to be like, well, there was 7 or 8 seed last year, like they could just improve, and I kind of see it maybe taking a little bit of a step back. They're pretty lucky with health and everything last year, so I don't know. I just think the West is so competitive. This just kind of feels like one of those teams. It's like, I mean, yeah, you're solid, but like, what exactly is what is it? But hey, there's no. There's virtue in just trying to be a playoff team every year. I admire it.
My thing is, I'm almost trying to find myself not comparing Ott to Brad Stevens right now, and I think they could always just be fighting for a play-in. I think honestly that even with this collection of guys, man, they could be a 8-9 seed. That's what I'll say. I don't know why, but I have this feeling in my head. That's just where they're going to end up this year.
That is the tier they're in. I mean, yeah, they're in that kind of 7 to 10 range for sure.
We can skip over this team that's in the Northeast.
This is the big one here.
All right, so the Philadelphia 76ers, they acquired Anthony Simons, Ariel Hawkporty, and Dean Wade. No one else. And they traded away.
Solid pickup, all 3, honestly.
Yeah, and good that they cut ties with Drummond. Grimes feels like a tough loss, but in the moment. But then you're like, oh, they still have a bunch of guards, and they replaced his scoring with Simons. A little worse defensively. Oubre, I think, is the biggest like role player loss they had because I feel like he had nights where he was just on fire and just he would throw up 20 on a random night. I think he's going to be good, and we'll get to the team he's going to. And they also acquired Jaylen Brown. And then they traded away Paul George for Jaylen Brown. I mean, listen, we'll get to the Celtics portion of this later. I think this is great for Philly. I think he's a wing option that's younger than George and probably a little bit better defensively at this point. My concern is there are one basketball and three guys who like to bounce the air out of the basketball on this team, and a fourth guy in VJ Edgecombe who is young and would like to have the basketball in his hand every now and then. Very curious how Maxey, Brown, and Embiid are going to coexist. Yeah, I don't know. I can't be unbiased about this team.
I mean, it's a massive coup for Philly. It's just such a huge pickup. It's one more year of extra money, but a player who's way younger and at this point way better than Jaylen Brown. They didn't have to give up their best first round pick that they own. No, I mean it's a massive pickup for Philadelphia and one that hurts Boston, tremendously. So, I'm sorry. I mean, I didn't really speak up much when we were kind of texting about it and like group stuff. I was like, I'm going to leave my thoughts until we record because I want to give it a few days and kind of think about it a little bit more. But it's one of those like I thought like, oh, maybe the more I think about it, the more I kind of like understand it from Boston's standpoint. It's been the opposite. The more I think about it, it's really bad. It's I'm sorry, but it's just
save the Boston portion for Boston.
Okay.
Let's stick to Philly. Philly,
yes.
I said this early on. I hate the Oubre loss. I think that was their biggest.
Yeah, that's bigger. Yeah, and that's also great for the team he went to. But no, that's actually a bigger deal, I think, than people realize.
Dean Wade also is just such a 4 years for Dean Wade. That just seems like a lot of years for Dean Wade.
Yeah, my guess is that was just like that's what it took to pry him from Cleveland. Like if they're just gonna be like, hey, they're gonna offer me 2, or you're gonna offer me 2, well, I'll just stay in Cleveland. Okay, if you're gonna give me 4, like okay, I'll do that. And I understand why Cleveland can't do that, right? Because they're just like they're essentially hard capped, and they're going after a player of the same position
and a little bit older though.
A little bit older.
Yeah. Okay. Honestly, good for Philly. I have a buddy of mine who I work with who's now at my new job, big Sixers fan. He texted me. He's like, I waited a few days just to text you about it. I was like, I appreciate your thoughts and prayers.
I'll say the rest of it for the Boston section.
Yeah. All right. Orlando. Okay. Javon Carter and re-signing Jonathan Isaac. Congratulations. Losing Mo Wagner was not on my bingo card. I did not think that was going to happen.
We lost the Wagner connection.
And then bringing Vooch back on what will probably be a retiring year and just ending his career where he had a lot of his start in Orlando. I know he officially started in Philly. I'm not dumb. But
his best years were Orlando, yeah.
Correct. Yes. I like the ceremonial idea of it. Hate that it meant giving up their other center in Wagner, who I think is just better fit. But Wagner also is just hurt all the time. So, I mean, I don't know which one you would rather have.
Yes. No, there's something like a little bit romantic about, them bringing Vooch back. And it's so funny that like, you get this massive haul for him and that's just like this real stain on that Bulls organization for a while. And then he comes back for like nothing. And it's like, oh, cool. Like we get to actually have him at the end of his career anyway. And we got all this other stuff for him. That's kind of cool. So no, good for him. Good for him. Good for the Magic. I mean, his shooting will help a little bit. I mean, that's something they need. So don't see him playing a ton, down the stretch and in the playoffs, but a nice pickup, a good regular season player at this point.
I agree. Oklahoma City Thunder. They kept everyone they said they were going to keep. They picked up the team option for Dort. They re-signed Hartenstein. They re-signed Kenrich Williams. They did let Brandon Carlson go. Big deal. Did trade away Isaiah Joe to the Pistons and did trade Aaron Wiggins to the Hawks. Now, Wiggins was not in the rotation like down the stretch in some of those playoff games. And I'm remembering 2 years ago when felt like he was such an important player. And he had like a 40-point game in the regular season like 2 years ago. And then Isaiah Joe has just always been a sharpshooter, but I think and just a highlight reel of a dunker whenever it just happens. That being said, I think they're like, hey, we have replacements now and younger guys. Starts they also drafted Mara, who's just their version of trying to find a guy to guard Wemby. I think they're continuously thinking about the youth that they have on their team, and Joe does not fit that, and they couldn't afford to keep paying a guy like that who's going to probably want more money. And I think that was the same thing with Wiggins. It's now transitioning into the next crew of young players who are coming up through the developmental portion of the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Yeah, and they're just so much more cost controlled. Like a Jared McCain, it just makes so much more sense to have him than like a Wiggins and a Joe. So I think Aaron Wiggins will help Atlanta, and I think Isaiah Joe's shooting is desperately needed in Detroit. So it makes sense for both those guys too. Send them to places where they're actually going to play. Like I think the Thunder, again, just like A+ organization, they treat guys right. They get them to spots that make sense for them, but also make sense for their own franchise. Just excellent stuff all the way around.
I agree. Our reigning NBA champions, the New York Knicks, kept Alvarado, kept Diawara, kept Shamet. Signed Andre Drummond because they couldn't keep his better version in Huck Porty or Mitchell Robinson.
Yep. This was the cost-cutting move they had to make. I mean, there was going to be one who was going to be, this makes sense.
I agree. Can I ask the question why it wasn't like a Landry Shamet?
Yeah, I don't, man, Shamet down the stretch was big.
That's true.
I mean, Robinson, I guess had more impact on the team over the last few years, but I don't know. Shamet just felt like less replaceable, if that makes sense. Like, and just healthier, than.
That's fair. I always get the feeling that Landry Shamet is just lightning in a bottle. Like it comes and it's awesome, but when it goes, it is just drought city.
Yeah.
And I think, boy, did they bottle up that lightning, and they took it out at the right moment, and he was just great during that playoff run. You're absolutely right. So maybe, and you know what? Maybe that's just the thing. He finds his groove, and it's ready to go. And so hopefully that's the situation here. His entire career has felt like it's been constant change. So maybe having a team of stability and being on the same team helps his case. It's just one of those things where it just feels like they have so many of the same player, and maybe they're just like, hey, we're going to harp on that. We're going to have these same guys and like Miles McBride, Shamet. I don't know. It just feels like they have very duplicative in some of these in these bench roles.
Yeah, but I think they're just trying to take care of the guys that won the title, other than Mitch. I mean, it's like, that was the longest tenured Nick. It's really interesting. I guess that's Brunson now, right? Is he the guy that's been with the team the longest, these 4 years? I mean, it's been a constant churn.
Yeah, I think so. Either that or McBride. Probably him and
McBride.
Yeah,
McBride, maybe, yeah. No, that's interesting. But no, I mean, it's essentially running it back with just like a slightly worse version, like you said, of the guy they had last year. But they can patch that together. I mean, backup center, look, it's important, but it's not,
it's the defense. It's the defense that I think Robinson provided, and we saw it in stretches in the finals. I think that's the difference that they're losing. And I don't know. I seem to value that portion for this Knicks team specifically, because I think Cat in moments, I mean, he guarded Wemby great in moments during this finals, but I think Mitchell Robinson's overall impact as a defensive anchor just speaks so many volumes to how good this team was, and was one of him and Anunoby were like the defensive stoppers for this team throughout the season. So we'll see. Pelicans, congrats. You re-signed DeAndre Jordan and let go of Kevon Looney.
That's it. Nothing else to add.
Congrats. You no longer have 5 centers on your roster. The Minnesota Timberwolves, a team that had a lot of change. They re-signed Ayo Dosunmu. They re-signed Bones Highland. They traded for LaMelo Ball and Josh Green, and then signed Trey Lyles. Let Kyle Anderson go. Let Mike Conley go. Traded Julius Randle and Naz Reid. I think our guy Andrew Carlson hated that they lost Kyle Anderson, just because he seemed to have been a great vet in the locker room for the Timberwolves. So that will be what I will say is my least favorite portion of their offseason. But I mean, we've talked about this team a lot just so far this summer, and I think the fact that they kept Io in house and they were able to re-sign him, and then very curious to see how this LaMelo Ball trade works out. But I am more hyped about the Io re-signing than anything for them.
Yeah, I mean, and there will be nights where the LaMelo thing we talked about last week will be a lot of fun. So, yeah, we'll see. Trey Lyles coming back, played a year with Real Madrid, coming back to the league, was really good for Real Madrid, and so good for him. Shows you can kind of, hey, go overseas, play really well, rehab some stuff, come back and still be, maybe a level player, which he is. So I guess he kind of replaces, Kyle Anderson. But I do understand that the locker room presence thing, I think, was a big deal for them. And Conley too. Conley was big in that too, right? He was like the Rudy whisperer. He's the guy that kind of calmed everybody down at times. And you lose that to Boston. So, that's tough as well. But yeah, we talked more about the LaMelo thing last week. But yeah, Io, that's the cost of it, right? It's like, you got to kind of do some of this stuff to make sure you can kind of re-sign Io. And I think he's going to be really important for them. So, yeah, they're very much a we'll see. We'll see what happens team.
Another guard heavy team.
Yeah.
Or smaller player heavy team. Milwaukee Bucks. Another big trade. Re-signed Zhang and Markovic. And they got from the Giannis trade, they got Harrow, Yakashonis, Jaquez, and Ware. They also got in Burries and Ament, who Carl and I talked about on the draft pod. We were like, okay, Burries is great. Ament is an interesting piece. And they also lost Bobby Portis, by the way, too. I don't know. I mean, it sucks when you lose your franchise player and they're probably the best player in your franchise's history in Giannis. But I think the thing they can look forward to is just this wave of youth that they're going to have come in. And what can they develop? What can they become is the biggest thing. I'm not confident in it, but we will find out.
Yeah, I mean, look, we have Milwaukee and the Miami back to back, so we can kind of do this in tandem. But because that's obviously the biggest thing here is Giannis. I mean, look, it obviously had to happen. We talked a little bit about it last week. It's it's the biggest trade that's happened in the league in a while. In terms of just like the level of player, that's getting traded.
Luka is the last one.
Who?
Luka,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, which is at this point, that's almost it's a year and a half ago at this point. So yeah, I mean, it's just I almost think it's like we knew it was going to be happening for so long. That's still like it's just wild to see him in another jersey, and we've got 13 years of watching this guy in Milwaukee and him wearing number 7. It's just going to be odd. That's just going to be kind of a unique thing the first time you see it. Obviously, we're as of recording, we've got the news that LeBron's kind of narrowed his thing down to 3 teams, and Miami's one of them. That'd be a really odd fit, LeBron, Giannis, and Bam. But I don't think he's going to end up going there. I really do think it's going to be Cleveland. But yeah,
and Philly's the other one.
Would at least yeah. I mean, Philly's where like I think he should go, but I think it's going to be Cleveland. But yeah, I don't know. I just keep thinking about the Giannis thing. I just like I this is so hard, man, to see a player like that traded. Like I keep putting myself in kind of Bucks fan shoes, and I think it makes sense. And there's probably a big faction of them that like want this. It's like, hey, it's time to move on. Like, this is just kind of it's reached its endpoint, and it had, but it's still just like really hard to see. And like again, it's a guy's gonna have a statue outside the arena at some point. Yeah, it's just kind of a bummer. And when the return is like this, you're like, like I feel like a year ago we could have got like quite a bit more, or I think I'd rather have Jaylen Brown than any of these guys that we got in this. That's tough. That's tough. So yeah, again, we can kind of do these in tandem, but yeah, that's just always kind of crazy to see a guy at that level traded. And I think that part like hasn't been like talked about much. It's like, oh yeah, Giannis got traded, of course. It's like, no, Giannis got traded. Like that's huge. Yeah, that's just crazy.
Top 5 player in the NBA right now. I mean, it's moved, and
it has been for a while.
Correct. I think, Milwaukee also losing Portis, who is their version of what Naz Reid was in Minnesota.
Yeah, no, like, that's a bigger deal than people realize. Yeah.
And I think that is what is. I think the combined blow of that is just going to hit hard. And I have a Bucks fan is one of my best friends, and he had convinced himself, he had an inside source that he didn't really think Giannis was getting traded until like that week leading up to it. Like there had been apparently a lot of talks, a lot of like tried conversations with Giannis to try to convince him to stay, and it just didn't stick. And so
yeah,
I think
it was the right move. It was the right move. It was time.
Yeah, and I think he's still in like a state of confusion. Like this actually still happened. So yeah, you're right. It is one of those things that until opening night, I don't know if I will believe it until I see it like in a regular season game. So
yeah,
we'll see. The Heat did lose Norman Powell, but the soft tier replacement is Tim Hardaway Jr., who I kind of like. I think he had a great year last year in Denver. So I'm very interested to see how that ends up with him in Miami. And the fact that they kept Wiggins. I think he looked good last year too. They just continued, in my head, I will continue to say they just need to surround Giannis and Bam with shooters. And LeBron's at that stage. He just might need to shoot from here on out. Can't drive to the rim that much.
Yeah.
If he ends up going there. Memphis Grizzlies. Well, lost Ja Morant. And listen, one of my favorite role guys, Santi Aldama.
Me too.
I love him. Hate the fact that I hate the fact that he wasn't an option for the Celtics, but go have fun in Dallas. We'll get to you later. And then did anyone else think this Quentin Post deal was just crazy? I was just like, that was just another big they picked up, traded for Jeremy Grant, AJ Johnson, and Chris Murray. Listen, Grant is just there to get buckets at this point. But they're like, hey, let's let Coward and I don't know what this is going to be a bottom 5 team in the West in my eyes, because I think Grant is just going to try to earn a contract this year, and we'll see what that looks like. But they're just going to be like, hey, try to go score 20 for us this year. You and Coward just go both score 20 for us a game.
And Boozer.
Thank you, friend. Boozer will be blessed with that one. So, and I think that's why they traded Aldama. Honestly, it's like clear the space of like, let's let Boozer like not have any competition for this. So, not that there would be, but I just think like, let's just clear the space on that one. So yeah, I think it's just weird that they offered that much money for Quentin Post. I was just like, really? That? In for 3 years. But yeah, I mean, I think getting out of the job business, Chris Vernon has to be raging. Oh my gosh, Chris Vernon has to be losing his mind just because he now has lost the one player that could ever bring Memphis a title. Gosh, whatever. I could go on my Chris Vernon rant again.
Yeah, no, we'll save that.
I'm glad I've avoided every podcast he's been on, and I was happy he didn't join a Bill podcast after the fact. So,
we talked about the jaw thing. I think that's good
point.
We can move on.
Yeah, let's go to the team that made the most moves at this point.
Yeah, just so many. I'm just scrolling through this. It's crazy.
They re-signed Austin Reeves. I'll start with the ones they lost first. Lost Hachimura. Lost Ayton. That's fine. Lost Hayes. Interesting. Lost Kennard, who was important, like we said, in the playoffs. And lost Marcus Smart, which, listen, love the guy. Understand why they let him go, but I feel like he also was just, especially when Doncic and Reeves were both out, that guy had so much responsibility on his shoulder. He's going to go to Houston and have that same responsibility on his shoulders whenever Van Vliet's out of the game. And very curious to see how that goes in Houston, but we'll get to them later in a second here. Signed Grimes, a lot of money. Traded for Jaden Hardy. Okay. Spent so many dollars and cents on Walker Kessler. Then also signed Kevon Looney to the minimum. Mamu for a few $1 million, and then Colin Sexton. They've just basically filled out their roster. And I think and also lost LeBron. Sorry.
I was going to say, yeah. And the huge one
is that part.
No, I was just about to say, when you look at these two things, you read the departures and then you read the additions, you're like, okay, if this is all it is, like, they got better. Like, those additions, Quentin Grimes, Jaden Hardy, Walker Kessler, Kevon Looney, Mamu, and Sexton, are better, I think, overall than Hachimura, especially going forward. Hachimura, Ayton, Hayes, Kennard, and Smart. But when you combine that with, and they also lost LeBron James, like, you didn't really replace, like, a bunch of the stuff that he provides. So it's like, what, like, I don't know. And it's so much money for some of these guys too. It's like, it's just kind of like, this is the team. This is just your team now. Like, there's not really another option. And yeah, Smart, I think they probably got the last, like, really, like, solid, year and, like, run out of him. I don't know, man. I'm a little bit baffled by this. Like, I guess they just have, like, a ton of faith in Walker Kessler. Like, that just seems like, I mean, it's 4 for 130, right? That is just much money for Walker Kessler.
And a guy who, now, I don't know if it's actually been hurt, or if it's been a mixture of that and Jazz just benching him.
Yeah, playing on the Jazz, yeah.
Yeah. I am very curious just to see how much his impact is on this team. I will also say I am very curious because I think, there was moments where last year Doncic and Reeves, when they were on the court together, they just looked so good. Oh my gosh, it was special. They have found the duo of guards to kind of be behind him, and Sexton and Grimes. That's great. Just like one can come in with Luka, one can come in with Reeves. That's great. Is Jake LaRavia and Mamu gonna be your starting forwards though? Like, or is Sexton gonna be your starting out there with Doncic? Or that's my thing. Is like they don't have size defensive wings that I'm like, what are they doing here? So that's the thing. Also, they've just recreated the entire 1980s Celtics team with all white guys.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's the biggest thing. It's like I really like Mamu and Jake LaRavia as like backup 3-4s. But like they're not starting on like a team that fancies themselves like a title contender, do they? I mean, like I just don't.
Well, the Lakers always consider them a title contender, and I think if you're Luka, you have to be like if you have Luka on your basketball team, you have to start thinking like
to try. Yes, yeah. Yeah, it's odd ones. I mean, maybe they see something in these guys that we just don't. But no, the Kessler one especially, I'm just like that was the slot. That was the salary slot where you could have added a really high level piece, and that's what you chose. That just seems. I mean, maybe it was the best choice, but I find that hard to believe.
The value for a top tier big man apparently is a lot. Now, I think for a guy whose potential we haven't fully maybe seen, I think that's just a lot of hope in what he can possibly be in a full 82 game season where he's not sitting out. So we'll see, and maybe the rest helped. Who knows? Let's switch to the other LA team who lost Kawhi Leonard, lost John Collins, lost Bogdanovich, did get Hachimura, did get Brandon Ingram and Grady Dick from the Raptors for Kawhi Leonard. I'll start here. Why are we believing in the Brandon Ingram? Like, I think that to me would have been like, okay, well, actually, Adam, I'll ask you, would you rather have had Ingram or Barrett?
I have to look at the deals. I mean, just straight up as a player, I guess Ingram.
Yeah, I guess Ingram. Maybe you're right.
Yeah, but I have to look at like the deals, and I mean, there's a little bit of kind of what's the fit around him, but yeah, I guess Ingram's probably just a slightly better.
For LA, for the Clippers, would you rather have Ingram or Barrett? I
guess Ingram. I mean, the thing is, Kawhi is just like such a mystery because there probably is some kind of punishment coming, like you would think from like the aspiration thing, like so maybe that's just a way to get out ahead of it, and it's like we're just gonna get rid of him and we'll just take the punishment and just hey, this is gonna be a lost year anyway. Let's just kind of whatever. And so it was like this was their chance to get off of Kawhi. I don't know.
Was it now that my question is the punishment going to be to Kawhi, to the Clippers, or both?
I don't know. Yeah, it could be both. Could be both.
That's my other thing too. Is I'm like, could it be both? But I'm interested to see how that works. So they're like, let's separate the two pieces here and see what they end up doing.
So we're not almost getting like double punished. Yeah.
Correct. I do think Hachimura is a good replacement for Collins.
I do too. I like it.
And I am trying to think of this lineup now of Garland, Mathurin, Ingram, Hachimura, in whatever center they want. Like, I am very curious to see what they end up doing with this Clippers team. But again,
Niederhauser,
yeah, or Isaiah Jackson. I think this team is, in my mind, same tier as like the Suns. Like they're going to be in that like 8-9 fighting for a play-in spot.
See, I don't have them as high as that. I think they've taken a step back. Yeah, I would have them in that kind of the next tier down. It's just so hard to generate wins without a guy like a Kawhi type player in your team. I mean, it's just I just don't see it. I just don't see where like they're gonna. I mean, they're a 35 win team. I mean, maybe that's kind of where they land.
And here's what I'll say. I will always trust in Ty Lue Like
Yeah.
that's I think Ty Lue adds 5 wins to that, and that's why they're like a 40-win team.
But the directive might be to not be a playoff team.
That's fair.
I can see that.
That's
but then
fair.
if they lose their pick because of a scandal, then maybe not. I don't know. That's going to be, That's just, we got to see what the punishment is.
Yeah. Indiana Pacers.
Yeah, quick one.
A quick one is additions is Oubre, and they said bye to Cam Jones. I'll also add Zubac is in here because he didn't play. And I think that one is a key addition. I will say this again. Philly losing Oubre has hurt them so much. And I think Oubre is the perfect guy in Indiana. I think his ability to spread the floor and his ability to give a shit. Like, he gives so many shits. And I think that's going to be huge with Indiana. And it's like, Aaron Nesmith, you're going to go take a break. But let's go bring in Kelly Oubre, who can do just the exact same thing he was doing. Maybe not as good defensively, but he's still going to give a crap. And I think I love that.
And good rebounder for his size. He can play in transition, which the Pacers do so well. No, it's a great fit for Indiana. I actually really like that pickup. That's very, very
team
smart.
Team player, and he does not need to have the ball in his hands to create offense. Like, he just is like, hey, catch and launch. And I think that's perfect. Houston. They picked up 2 vets in Bogdanovich and Smart. Great. And they lost to Kogi and Finney-Smith. I am so happy Kogi is out of there. And Finney-Smith going to Charlotte, good for him. But I think Kogi was just a contract and a body that made no sense on this team. And Bogdanovich gives him a shooter, but honestly, how much is he going to play? I don't know, Adam. I really don't know.
He's not going to. No, I think he's done. He's probably trying to get to the 10 years, in the NBA thing. You get all the pension stuff, and then he'll go be a star back in Serbia or Turkey or something.
Yeah, that's fair. Golden State, they just brought back the former Celtic big men in Porzingis, and Horford and Melton was the other addition, re-signing. And then they lost Quentin Post. I don't know. I mean, this was the other team that Bill Simmons was so convinced he was going to go. LeBron was going to Golden State. That doesn't seem to be happening. That seems also incredibly stupid, especially with just their roster creation. So I don't know. I mean, congrats, you kept a team that's old as shit together.
Yeah, I know. They're just kind of stuck. They're just stuck. It's
how is Al Horford still getting 2-year deals?
That's amazing. Good for him.
I love the man, but I saw him move last year.
Yeah,
there was lack of movement. So
entering his 20th season. Crazy, Al Horford. Horford, Conley, and KD all in that 2007 draft, all entering their 20th year this year.
Crazy. That's nuts. Pistons. So, man, there's so much that's not on this, like, officially, like, because the Stewart, like the 6-team Stewart trade, like, hasn't gone through yet, but he's going to Memphis.
Right.
That's who I forgot to mention. Memphis is also getting Isaiah Stewart. Then, again, I don't understand the Quentin Post. They did bring in John Collins and Isaiah Joe. Kind of like that. They did waive Duncan Robinson. They did keep Kevin Huerter. And they did re-sign Javonte Green. That being said, there's also the big name of Jalen Duren, who has not been re-signed and has also asked out. And he wants to go to Sacramento. Why? Who the hell knows? Is it because he wants to have the ball in his hands? Maybe. I don't get it. It makes no sense to me, Adam. What the hell does anyone want to do in Sacramento?
No, and clearly the playoff stuff, I mean, is looming large, and how poorly he played in those playoffs for on both sides. Almost, it's like, oh yeah, like this is Detroit saw it as their way to be like, oh, now we can lowball this guy because like you kind of sucked in the playoffs, and he did. And then he's like, well, look, I'm like this homegrown guy, and worked my way up into being an all-star, an all-NBA player, like reward me. And they're like, nah, this is not really how this is gonna go. So that's a huge shoe to drop still. I mean, I know he met with the Lakers and. They've got all the leverage still, Detroit, but it's still, that's a weird one. And then obviously they lost Tobias Harris, to San Antonio. So another key piece off the team. So yeah, I mean, look, Joe and Collins, if you look at it in the vacuum, those are nice pickups and guys that, they can use, but if they lose Jalen Duren, then I kind of, what's the point?
That's my thing. Like, they lose Jalen Duren, they're dropping out of the playoffs. Because they no longer have a center.
Yeah. Yeah.
They traded away Stewart.
An all-NBA center, yeah.
Right, yeah. I don't know. It just... it doesn't feel like this has gone too far for them to like still like talk it out with Duran. Like, hey, let's just like figure this out. Let's work together here. And I feel like he and Cade have a good like partnership. I think the fact that he lost his like other fellow big man in Stewart, I think hurts a little bit. But I don't know. Losing Tobias Harris in my mind is such a deal, like a big deal, because now I don't know who the secondary creator is. I don't know. Asar Thompson would have to create a jump shot out of thin air. That thing does not exist, and he needs to be a creator for them, and he just isn't that yet.
No, he's not.
I also think they're just dropping down in the standings no matter what. I think
I do too. Yeah, even if they bring it back, they're going to fall off. Just they're a paper tiger, and like last year was just like the perfect kind of storm of like, you know, some other teams kind of not playing that well. They had, you know, they hit this like this really cool streak, gained a bunch of confidence, and you know, we're obviously a really solid team, but I just never really believed in them as like a high level playoff contender. And I think no matter what, they'll take a step back next year.
Some teams in the East had slow starts, and they just took advantage of that. The Nuggets, lack of deals, just for a team that you'd think they want to try to figure out some things around Jokic, brought back Tyus Jones, brought in Marvin Bagley, interesting, and said bye to Tim Hardaway Jr., who I think was their best shooter. Like Cam Johnson wasn't what the guy they were expecting to be last year. Christian Brown isn't like a consistent like step up and hit big shots all the time. Or just like have the confidence to take 3-point shots all the time like Tim Hardaway is. That's my thing. I am very confused why they let him go, or they just didn't like try to like put up a big offer to compete with Miami, because it wasn't like that big of a deal to go to Miami. But I'm like, what are we doing here? You have to, or they just have a lot of faith in whatever they're developing, or they have a lot of faith in Julian Strawther.
Yeah, I guess they do, and they just don't like to go. You know, they're not going to go in the second apron. They're just not going to do it. They're not going to go, you know, weigh in the tax. They just don't want to pay. They're owned by a guy who's, you know, connected to the Walton family. You know, one of the cheapest rich people around.
I know.
Just by owning all these other teams. I mean, just look up that family and the lack of help that they give to their people. Pretty disgusting. So yeah, I don't see. I guess this is just the team for the next, you know, couple of years. Just run it back. I mean, you know, there's talks of Jaylen Brown being, you know, traded there, and that being a real shakeup. But I mean, unless there's something we just don't see at all. This is just kind of the team.
I'll say this: if a big trade does happen in the next week, I apologize, but I just don't see it coming. If it does happen, you'll get a pot from Adam and I. But the Nuggets seem to work in the shadows like the Celtics. Like they wait until it's like the last second. You're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, but we'll see. Mavericks brought in Aldama. Lost Bagley and AJ Johnson. They got better. And they lost Middleton. But I honestly think that Aldama, I mean, man, I love this guy. I mean, he's just a B minus, B plus, like all around in everything he does. Like he's not bad at anything. He's not stellar at anything, but he's just good or great at everything.
Yeah. Just a good basketball player. Will help the team.
Absolutely agree. Cleveland lost Keon Ellis, who they traded for and barely played. Lost Dean Wade, who was their analytics guru, who everyone loves in Cleveland. Signed Thomas Bryant. And then they signed Donovan Mitchell to a 4-year extension today. Which
massive extension.
But I think
his last year, folks, will pay him $75 million.
You think that's a massive dollar amount?
Yeah. $75 million.
To put it in reference for you, Adam, take 3 zeros off that. That's not even my salary. Like,
no, it's crazy, man. It's
ridiculous. And it's one of those things, if you're Cleveland, you have to pay it. You have to pay it for a guy like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's the price you pay for having a top 20, top 15 player in the NBA. You have to, and he's your best player. You got to pay it. So we'll see.
Yeah, and then maybe making another edition, but we'll wait to talk about that.
Yeah, LeBron edition is a possibility. My current home team in the Chicago Bulls. Let me just say, their editions are longer than the ones that they have listed here with Nick Claxton and Norman Powell. Caleb Wilson and Swain as their draft picks, who everyone in Chicago was just now raving about. They did lose Simons. That's fine. They have a surplus of guards. It's fine. And Colin Sexton.
Yeah.
Why did they re-sign Zach Collins? I don't know. That sounds stupid.
Beats me.
Beats the hell out of me, Adam. That being said, I love the Claxton addition. I know he didn't have as great of a year last year, but honestly, he's played for the Nets. And I think there's a little bit of a different motivation now on a team that might be trying. I think Norman Powell is the perfect guy for this team at 2 guard. I think if it's Giddey and it's Powell and it's Buzelis and it's Wilson and Claxton, Powell, launch. You and Giddey are going to launch that shit. And Buzelis is going to have to get better at 3. But this is just an athletic team, and they're like, Norman Powell, you are our shooter. They had no shooting. And I will send the text. I will send the receipt. I had texted you guys earlier that morning, and I was like, doesn't Norman Powell in Chicago just sound phenomenal? And I got pushback from our own Bulls employee in our group chat. And I just want to say, I called that shit.
No, it's a perfect mix. I mean, that 5 you just read out is just like significantly more interesting than what they had, going last year.
Gosh.
Yeah. I mean, they should just be, at the very least, just a lot more fun to watch.
Yeah. And trust me, I understand they're probably going to still be a middling team in the East. That's totally fine. I'm going to enjoy the heck out of every game that I go to next year. It's going to be a great time. Yeah. Charlotte. They lost their 2 longest tenured players in Ball and Bridges. They also lost Josh Green. I think they're okay with that. For the guys who think Josh Green is still a valuable player, check his game logs and how many times he played over last year. It's not like he was on the Mavericks in 2024 anymore. They did get Grayson Allen, Dorian Finney-Smith, Royce O'Neal, and Naz Reid. Naz Reid's nice. That's all I have to say. I don't know.
And re-sign Kobe White. That's helpful.
It's addition by subtraction for this team. That's my thing. They got in Naz Reid. That's great. But everything else, it's just like kicking the bad root out of the franchise and trying to start over something here with Miller, Knippel, try to get Naz Reid, Diabate to work together and figure out the point guard situation with Kobe White, who they re-signed to a 3-year deal as well. Yeah, I don't know. We talked about this one a lot, but I don't know what else we have to talk about this because I think outside of Naz Reid, I don't love the other 3 additions.
No, Grayson Allen can really shoot it. I mean, that's
true.
You can always take shooting. But yeah, Finney Smith looks like it's he's kind of past it. Doesn't look like that's gonna be super. Yeah, we've talked about the ball stuff enough. Just it's clear they're reorienting the team around Knippel and Miller. It makes sense.
Yep. Brooklyn Nets. Well, you traded for Julius Randle.
Mm-hmm.
You signed Mo Wagner. Okay, that's your Nick Claxton replacement. Signed Keon Ellis, another guard. Make that guard number 42 for this team. And re-signed Josh Minot. I love the man. And Day'Ron Sharp. Listen, I think I don't know. Like, where do you see this Nets? Can you tell me what you think the Nets starting lineup will be next year?
No,
thank you.
It's a mystery. And also, I thought you were going to say, where do you see them? And I was just like, at the bottom of the standings. Like,
again,
that's just what they are. I mean, it's a directionless team, and the Knicks winning the title this year, and the parade being like 10 million strong. Like, it's just like such a sign that like this is just not a market that makes sense for like a second team. Like it does in terms of like the size and just like how big basketball is in New York, but all the love is with one team. I love that building. I've been to Barclays. It's really cool. And the Liberty games are amazing there. But this just feels like a lost franchise, just kind of floundering, it's kind of sad.
It's one that should move. Again, it won't, but it should move. Yeah. I don't know. So here's the thing. I did try to sketch it out. I think it's going to probably be either Sharp or Wagner at center. With Randall and MPJ. And then I was like, Cam Thomas. Oh, wait, no, he's in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And then Igor Jemin and Keon Ellis. or
Sure.
one of their 14 guards. Oh, probably Mikal Brown, the guy they drafted. Maybe it's him. I don't know. They got 42 guards in their locker room. I don't know what they're doing, but that's Brooklyn.
I don't either.
There's a team in Massachusetts we can skip over.
Well, let's skip them. Let's do the Hawks real quick, and then we'll finish with your Celtics.
Okay, that's fine. We'll do the Hawks real quick.
Hawks is very quick. Yeah,
We talked about earlier. I like Wiggins going there, and I think how the heck they ended up with Devin Carter. Listen, I don't know. I think Devin Carter is going to be a good backup point guard, backup combo guard somewhere, and if it's in Atlanta, good for him. They also re-signed McCollum and Landale. They didn't lose anyone else. That's crazy.
I think that was actually important to re-sign McCollum. I think that's actually really good. Maybe not, he's not going to be on their team for 5-6 more years, but for next year, I think that actually makes a lot of sense. I think that was smart to bring him back.
All right, that's it. That's all 30. Final team, Boston
Celtics.
They re-signed Ron Harper Jr. They re-signed my guy Kata. They brought in Mike Conley, Mitch Robinson, and then they traded Jaylen Brown for Paul George. Why don't you go first? Because I'm going to try not to lose my mind.
I got to be honest, man. I feel for you. I really do. Like, it's just like the Giannis thing. It's like you have this guy in your life for so long. You root and you root and root. And yeah, there's flaws, and but you learn to kind of like, yeah, it's fine. I live with those. It's like, because this guy brings me so much joy as a fan and all this stuff. And I'm just talking from a fan perspective here. It just sucks to be like, this dude 2 years ago won the title and was the Finals MVP. Just had the best season of his career, and it's like, yeah, we're going to trade him for like an aging star and a couple of first round picks that, like, honestly, like, are not even premium picks. Like, the dollar figure, man. I just keep coming back to that. It's like that's just going to cripple these teams. Like, when you just see at 35% of the cap, like, and you're not Giannis, and you're not Shea, like, you're not quite as good on that level. It's like, is this really worth having? And like, having two of these guys is like so difficult. So I mean, I get that part of it, but it's got to be depressing that was the best they could do, because they actually did the process right. I do think maybe they tried to do it a tad too early. They might have been a team that got a little more desperate if they waited till close to the season or even in the season. But clearly they thought it needed to be done, and it needed to be done quickly. And there was pressure, being put on the front office to do so, it sounds like. It sucks, man. I think it's a bad trade. I think it's a bummer. Like, for you, like, I will be honest. I did take advantage of I've always wanted a Jaylen Brown jersey. I to add to my little Celtics corner over there, but I mean, they were 60% off on the app. So
you bitch!
I was like, let me go ahead and grab it now. It's like, this just makes a lot of sense. So it's like, yeah, I'll have it rep. Like, the Jaylen Brown jersey will rep. I won't wear it anytime soon, I guess, but it'll rep. The season that he just had. That was the best season of his career. And again, I got it for way cheaper than I would have paid for it even a month ago. So yeah, I would take advantage of it, I guess, myself. But no, I'm bummed for you, man. I feel for you.
I mean, whenever Tatum got drafted, and I was like, the Tatum Brown, I was so high on Jaylen Brown when he got drafted by the Celtics, and I was like, why aren't they playing him more that 2016-17 season? But I realized he was just so raw, and they were just like, this guy's such an athlete. And so when they announced that he was going to start like in 2017-2018 season, I was like, thank God, because he deserves to, and this guy is a stud. That lineup with I had dreams of the lineup, a possibility of being him, Isaiah Thomas, Jason Tatum, Gordon Hayward, and Al Horford, and then we trade Isaiah Thomas for Kyrie Irving, and I was like, fuck. That being said, I mean, we got 10 years with this guy, and there have been moments where I was like, yeah, we can trade him for Kevin Durant in 2019. That was it. Like, 2019 was like the one time I was like, trade him then. Cash in on the prospect of what he can be. I think that, there have been a lot of comparisons, and the analytics community is just dumping on Jaylen. And I think that's just stupid. I think the lineups that he was out there with compared to like the lineups that the other team members were out there with. Like he was out there with all 4 bench guys, and then the other 4 starters would be out there with a bench guy, like probably like Hauser, like last season and like the last 2 years. People are like, well, look at the games where he like how good the Celtics have played when he's been out of the lineup. I'm like, yeah. Also, the last 3 years, they probably haven't played him in games if he wasn't hurt in games where we were probably going to win by 30, and we could have had just one of him or Jason playing. And then last year, it just worked out like that. The 5 or 6 games he missed, we were playing like the Wizards, we were playing the Nets, or the Hornets, like when they were like still not great at the early part of the season. It all kind of worked out timing wise. I did not love the Rudy Gay comparison. That was also
he's way
that was horrendous.
Rudy
Gay was never a Finals MVP.
Yeah.
Here's where I'll go with this. I tried talking myself into being happy about a Paul George trade. And listen, I hope Paul George is successful in Boston. I feel like he's going to get the shit end of the stick, and Celtics fans are going to like be really hard on him in these first like 2-3 weeks of the season, and he doesn't deserve it. Nor, I mean, it's not his fault.
I mean,
yeah. And I think it came down to the fact, and I think you agree with this, that it became a kind of one of those situations where whose role is it anyways? Whose ball is it anyways? Whose team is it anyways? And I think Boston went, and I hate saying this word, with the safer marketing route with Tatum than Brown. I think there is, in Boston's eyes, Brown is a quote unquote loose cannon with what could be said on social media, or with his Twitch streams. And I think it kind of worked out perfectly that he started his Twitch streams after Jason got hurt. And he started like becoming more and more available on social media. And he was like trying to make himself the guy. And I think Boston wasn't up for that. Boston was wanting to go for the better PR, less marketing scare in Tatum.
And better player. I mean, that's, like.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, I love Jalen
I'm not going to disagree with you on that.
Tatum's just a better player. I mean, yeah.
I think, and you're absolutely right, Tatum is the better player. And I think there are things, defense, that Brown is better at. But I think Jason Tatum overall, better creator, better shooter, in moments, a better driver to the rim when he's not
way better
rebounder, and can guard big man. Brown can do that too. Tatum's also a little bit stronger, maybe. I think the only thing that Brown has is he can guard guards better, and Tatum still is really good at that too. I think and we will see it this year. Can Tatum lead a team without Brown better than Brown can lead a team without Tatum? Now it's a little different. Paul George is on the roster. But I think we're really forgetting how fucking good Tatum was at the end of the 21 season when Brown got hurt. I don't think people remember that year where Tatum threw up 60 on the Spurs. And then also threw up another 50 on the Wizards in a play-in game. And then just tried to carry an Evan Fournier, Enes Kanter starting lineup with also Jabari Parker to at least beating this Nets trio juggernaut with Harden, Kyrie, and Durant in 21. That being said, I'm going to miss Brown so much. And I will be forever grateful for what he did in 24. Because, yeah, he was the best player in the Eastern Conference Finals. I will never forget where I was when he won the title, and then where he was when he hit the shot with Pascal Siakam in his mouth in that Pacers game 1. So there's so many good moments, so many good memories, and it sucks to see him go. And it hurts the worst when it's going to my least favorite team in the NBA.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. It's like, man, it's just like, yeah, of all the teams to go to, it's like to Philly, and I don't blame, like, I don't think teams should do, like, I really don't think teams should operate like, oh, but like, what are our fans going to feel like we traded to this team? Is like, that's not, you need to get the best deal, which is like why it's so telling. It's like, wow, this was the best deal. Like, that just can't, like, wow. That's really sad, but that's the very best you could get for this guy. But, yeah, when we had a friend of ours ask us in a group chat, to get his jersey retired. I mean, that's a no-brainer to me. I mean, no question.
Yeah,
like, no question. That's that number 7 is going up in the rafters for sure.
That being said, I'm excited about Mitch Robinson. I think him and Kada as just like a center duo, great. I love it. I'm trying to think of a lineup of Pritchard, White, Paul George, Tatum, and Kada, or / Mitch Robinson, whatever that starting lineup's going to be. I kind of love it, and I think it's going to be great. And here's the things that George is better at than Jaylen Brown. He's a better shooter, and he's a better creator for others. At this point in time, Jaylen Brown's a better defender, better scorer, more athletic, and
Way
younger,
more durable.
Way more durable. That being said, I'm going to just throw this out there. I worry that the impact that last year had on Jaylen Brown's body might hurt him this year. That's my only hand-up concern. So we'll see. But I also think Paul George sitting out 25 games last year might help him out a little bit. That's what I'm choosing to believe. But we'll see. And I think Conley is just an adult in the room. I try to tell my wife, like, because she loved Drew Holiday, I'm like, this is just the adult in the room that Drew Holiday was. Not going to play as much, but he's just going to be the adult in the room to calm down the situation, and also maybe be the adult in the room just to be like, hey, here's the shitstorm that we're going to probably see here in Boston because of the Jaylen Brown trade. How can we all work together? So we'll see. Anything else on this?
No, that's it.
Okay. Well, thanks for everyone who sat through the hour in less than 20 minutes to hear us talk about all 30 teams and had to hear me sit here and almost cry about the Boston Celtics. What team did any team make a major jump in the their rankings into a contender or to becoming a playoff team because of this offseason?
No. Major, no. I mean, there's teams that might have kind of changed the tier they were in. I think Chicago went from real low, bottom tier to okay, play in, they're solid, yeah, but nobody major, nobody from the 8th seed to the 2 seed. I don't, and I don't think anybody did the opposite either. I think Detroit takes a step back, but I don't think Detroit's just gonna be a joke or anything. I mean, they still got Cade and a bunch of good role players, so I don't think that's gonna be just a terrible team. But so no, I don't think anybody jumped multiple tiers or anything like that. Do you?
Indiana was my only one, but it's because of Halliburton coming back, sure. That's my only thing. That's the only caveat is Halliburton returning, and then the Zubac and Oubre pickups are.
Yeah.
Now they did lose the draft pick, but man, if they could have ended up with the draft pick too, that would have been crazy. But honestly, Russillo said this, and I don't know if it's 12, but he said there's 12 teams in the East that could realistically be a top 6 team, a top 6 playoff team. I was like, 12? That seems like a lot. But I think the top tier in the East is going to be so much fun next year. So that'll be interesting. Few announcements for the pod. First and foremost, not pod related. I'm going to be a dad. And my wife and I finally announced that last week or 2 weeks ago, whatever it was, on social media. And I realized I hadn't said it on the pod yet. Was waiting for this moment. So yeah, I'm going to be a dad. And due date is right before the NBA season starts. So boy, is my wife going to hate me if I'm going to record opening. No, I don't know. We'll figure that portion out when we cross that bridge. But Adam and I have a busy ass summer, and I have a busy summer leading up to the baby, and that's part 2 of this. Also having a baby boy, so you damn right he's gonna become a Celtics fan. This summer we've hinted at it, and next week we are officially starting the Anatomy of a franchise. No, Anatomy of a Superstar. Mitchell, get it right. Anatomy of a Superstar. We did Anatomy of a Franchise. Last 2 summers we did Anatomy of a Franchise. Adam came to me literally midway through last year regular season before we started season 2 Anatomy franchise. He's like, hey, I got this idea to continue Anatomy, and we're doing 2 summers, and we're gonna have an intro episode on Tuesday next week, followed by our first player who we will announce in the intro. So we probably won't hear from us until next Tuesday unless something absolutely freaking crazy goes down the rest of this week. But we are super excited. We have a few episodes already recorded. We're going to have a bunch of different people on this summer to come talk about their favorite players. And yeah, I don't want to take too much away from it, Adam, but I mean, I know we're going to do an intro episode, but is there any little tidbit you have? Because this is your
Yeah.
baby.
I would encourage people to listen to the intro episode. We'll explain it in kind of in full, some of our methodology and things like that. But yeah, essentially, it's going to be what we do is our top 50 players. It's not going to be in order. Like we're not releasing them in order. It's a little bit of a strategic release in some regards. 25 this summer, 25 next summer. So very similar in that sense to like kind of the Anatomy franchise where we split it in half. We're splitting this list in half too. Similar format. Going to kind of talk about the games, watch a couple games in full, have a list of 5 for every player that games that kind of represent their career. So I'd encourage people to listen to the intro to that and kind of get a real sense of like everything it's going to be. But if you are a fan of one of the top, what we kind of think is one of the top 50 players in the league's history, I think this is going to be really cool. I think each pod is going to be kind of like honoring to the player. It's not like hey, here's why he's not number one. That's not what these pods are going to be. They're going to be like, here's why this guy was awesome, basically. And I'm very excited. We've already gotten a few of them done. It's been so fun already to kind of have an excuse to go back and watch these old games. Always fun to do that. So listen to the intro pod and you'll get a lot more info on it.
Absolutely agree. Thanks everyone for listening. Enjoy your NBA offseason as we are. And if you want to we encourage you to listen to this as well. If you want, go back, listen to the Anatomy of franchise episodes as well that came out the past 2 summers. Just to get your mind to already think about the historical fact of what we'll do. And yeah, we're excited to kick off next week in the Anatomy of a Superstar. Go Celtics, go Spurs, and I don't know, man, go Pacers, go Bulls, go Thunder, go Nuggets. I don't know. Go everyone that we have that we've had on the pod over the past year. Thanks everyone for being a part of this, who has been a part of season 5 of the Anatomy of a Hooper's Almanac. I can't believe that I've been doing this now 5 years. Adam, this is your 2nd year doing this with me.
Very fun.
Gosh, and we're going to start season 6 here in a few months. But
quicker than you think.
God, it's crazy. But before then, we got to do Anatomy of a Superstar. Thanks everyone for listening. Have a great rest of your week, y'all.